My countrymen, as of the 21st of this month, I signed Proclamation number 1081, placing the entire Philippines under martial law.
What is martial law? According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, martial law is defined as control of an area by military forces rather than by police. Martial law was implemented in many countries, such as Canada, Israel, Poland, and many more. One of these countries is our very own, the Philippines. In September 23, 1972, President in the time, President Ferdinand E. Marcos, declared martial law upon the Philippines. Although martial law was intended for a greater cause, a lot of furtive and immoral acts were conducted during this time period. People were abducted by the roaming military men for unknown purposes. People's rights were abused for somewhat selfish reasons. Worst of all, no one was allowed to leave the country unless, of course, they had connections with the dictator. No one was also allowed to go overseas, meaning no one was allowed to escape the possibility of becoming a victim of the former president with an iron fist. Because of martial law, the citizens were stripped of their rights.
Martial law during the administration of former President Ferdinand Marcos was declared as a presidential declaration on September 23, 1972. This decision was made because of several incidents, such as the attempt to assassinate former Minister of Defense Juan Ponce Enrile, the attack of the Communists to our country, the bombing in Plaza Miranda during the campaign of the Liberal Party, and many others that threatened the national security, peace, and order of the whole country. Because of the act of suspending the civil rights and imposing military authority in the country, there are many human rights violations done during that time, such as the abduction of people in order to gain information, control over the radio and television stations, assassination, detention of people if caught outside during curfew hours, and many more. With the implementation of martial law, the support of the people to Ferdinand Marcos slowly degraded.
What do you think ended martial law?
For me, EDSA won.
1986 revolution.
It's a revolution.
1986 revolution.
It's EDSA revolution.
Martial law declared by Ferdinand E. Marcos lasted for 9 years and finally lifted on 1981. Some of the reasons why Marcos needed to lift the state of being under it are the plummeting of our economy due to the increase of the price of oil in the world market and our debt to the World Bank and the International Monetary Fund, Ronald Reagan being the new President of the United States of America, and the visit of Pope John Paul II to the Philippines.
Even though Ferdinand Marcos officially lifted martial law on January 17, 1981, the powers he acquired from the declaration are still intact, such as the capacity to imprison people without warrant of arrest and presenting the person to the court of law. The hatred of the Filipinos grew stronger when Benigno Ninoy Aquino was assassinated at the airport. The snap elections were allegedly rigged, which always led to the extension of Marcos's term, and many more. The Marcos regime finally ended when Ninoy Aquino's widow, Corazon Cory Aquino, won the election, and the family of Marcos fled to Hawaii to escape the wrath of the Filipino people.
An important question is to ask, was the government and military able to fulfill its purpose? Were they able to prevent the communist threat to the Philippines? Were they able to control the citizens and instill discipline in the Philippine society? The communists were never able to take control of the Philippines. The impending threat of the Communist Party of the Philippines, along with the New People's Army to take over the government, was suppressed. That crisis was averted. How about the purpose of President Marcos to stop all the chaos and madness? Though he stated that the Philippines was safe, the rallies and violence didn't cease. Even so, McCoy continued to reign over the Philippines year after year while winning every snap election until the year 1986, when he was caught fabricating the results.
Martial law had many bad effects to the Philippines. For one, martial law shook the structure of the Philippine democracy. Martial law changed many laws to take advantage of their high position. Furthermore, martial law resulted to many citizens suffering from trauma in the events that transpired. Over 6,000 Filipinos were affected by the abuse the government had done. The Philippines was also in great debt because they had borrowed a lot of money from foreign countries for the projects the government had planned. Although there were many bad effects of martial law, there were still some good effects. First, many structures were made during the Marcos regime. Up to now, these structures remain to be used by citizens in their day-to-day lives, like the people who use the light rail transit, or LRT, and the San Juanico Bridge in Leyte. Second, the armed forces of the Philippines had noticeable improvements, such as the increase of members, better facilities, and improved training. While some found it apt to continue their rebellious actions, most conceded to the martial law and disciplined themselves. A lot of adults tell us of the terrors of martial law. They tell us of how dark an era it was for the nation of the Philippines, and that we should forget about it. And then when we argue against them regarding this, they tell us we're too young to understand. Well, to a certain degree, I can agree that we are too young to fully comprehend. But what I do firmly believe is that martial law isn't a part of history we shouldn't touch. It is not a part of history we should leave in our history textbooks. And as a millennial, I advocate that we use all the good aspects of martial law to model a better Philippine society, while always keeping at the back of our heads the mistakes made during Marcos's regime. And as a Filipino, we must never stop fighting. We must never stop fighting. Fighting for the ones we lost. Fighting for justice. Fighting for peace. Fighting for a better society. And most of all, fighting for a better and brighter bukas.
Basta't magkaisa tayong lahat. Sama-sama tayong lahat.
nagaganap sa aming bayan. Magkasama ng mahirap at mayaman,
Kapit, bisig, madre, pari at sundalo.
Naging langit itong bahagi ng mundo.
huwag muling payagang umira lang